welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And folks, I always say that we have a special guest today, but no, seriously, seriously, this time, I'm very excited about the person we have for today's show. First things first, let me get this up here. And let me ask you this. Do you remember the confusion and then the titillation when you first watched the Colbert Report? Stephen Colbert. He was like a stone cold, hardcore conservative Republican who would sign on to anything that George W. Bush or some other Republican had to offer. And it wasn't until you watched half of an episode or maybe a few episodes until you were like, hey, wait a minute. This guy's doing a bit. He's not really a hardcore Republican. He is on our side. And then how about Sacha Baron Cohen and the many different characters that he created to interview people and kind of clown on them? Meanwhile, the whole time we are in on the joke and secretly in on the joke. So, folks, today, that is the kind of guest that I bring to you. He is 100% committed to his bit, whether he's pretending to be a Fox News reporter or a true fan of not a pedo Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, or when he's getting tossed out of CPAC. And when he's not doing that, my guest today is an actor pumping out the same kind of straight faced humor in TV shows like Llama Cop. I kid you not. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming comedian, actor, activist extraordinaire, Walter Masterson.
Thank you for bringing me on. Good Patriot. We have a lot of pressing issues in our country right now, and I know there's a lot of things. But I think of all the things that are really pressing, people dressing up in like a dress and a wig and reading stories to children about how you should be nice to people, that is probably at the top of the list right there. Right? I mean, can we agree that, it's just, I just want to say, I found my dad's porn collection when I was a child, and thank God for that, because I don't know if I would have been straight today had I not found it.
Walter, thank you for joining me on the show. Thank you. I want to first off, I want to ask you, are you in touch with Callahan?
Oh, Callahan! Oh my God, Callahan! It was actually tragic. That llama died.
No,
he passed away. It was so. I was like, because that family moved to Texas, and I really wanted to, because they moved, and I never got to visit him when he went out there. When I did that silly web series, he was really young. He was like a year or 2 years old. It's a llama.
Oh,
like
you are for real. You were for real, serious.
No, I'm serious. It's
tragic. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, damn. No, I said it sucked. I was like, oh, that. But that was a beautiful llama, and he and I got very close. It was kind of, it was really touching. It was like funny. Like he would follow me around the set, and I was like, this is cool. And there's no real thing as like a train. You don't train llamas to do anything really. They just exist. And this guy would follow me around. And I have to say, people don't understand what we're talking about right now. So this is a web series I did. It was called Llama Cop. It was like a buddy cop genre where the llama is the bad cop. I'm the good cop, right? And so we did this entire web series with like a live llama.
It was really funny.
It was like next level absurd, right? And it has all the tropes of a buddy cop, Lethal Weapon. We threw like the cop genre, the Die Hard, the Lethal Weapon, all of that was thrown in there. And we used a live llama, and it was bonkers to do. So I will say though, so if you're a guy, you know, like you bring a puppy around, you want to attract attention from women.
Mm-hmm.
A llama is like, think about like, you know, your cutest puppy that you bring around to pick up women with, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
take a llama, and it's like, it's like a magnet for like the 25 square mile radius. Like people stop to get out of their cars. If you're looking to, you know, and you start conversations with literally anyone all the time, just walk around Los Angeles with a llama. That's what I did apparently. So yeah,
Wow.
But now that was years before I got into what I'm doing now. So before that,
Now,
I was a just comedian, did comedy, and then I got into this, all of what I do now during the pandemic, during quarantine. So a weird time to get into anything.
what do you consider yourself like more
Just
of an
comedian.
actor, comedian,
Just
activist?
comedian. Just comedian. I've had this crisis of identity for a few years now. I remember when I first started doing what people know me as right now, and I kind of didn't know what to even call it. I was like, oh, and then finally, the funny part is I just put comedian in my bio because
Mm-hmm.
people kept thinking I was a journalist, and so I thought, well, you know, I don't want to. I want people to know I'm not a journalist. I want people to know not to rely on me for information, because there's enough of that going around. Literally, like, right? It was like, you
I
know,
got to say,
there's a lot.
you could easily put actor in you, because you when you do those when you do those bits, you are stone cold, like straight faced. When you I couldn't hold a straight face as long as you do. You're in it. You
Oh,
were committed to the
in the
bit.
beginning, it was so much easier because, you know, before I got vaccinated, I would go to these rallies wearing a mask, and it was twofold. It was the fun. I didn't want anyone to recognize me, and obviously COVID. Uh, and there were times in the beginning when underneath the mask, I'm cracking up. I'm just like, this is what you're saying is so absurd. And I wasn't used to it. And then sometimes people walk away. So then, like,
Mhm.
what happens? People would walk away, and my friend and I'd be like, "Did you got all that on camera?" And then we'd fall to pieces laughing. Like we'd be like holding it in. We'd be like, yeah. There's a
The
few of them where that was like, as soon as we got 10 to 15 feet, we would like collapse in laughter.
the first time I think the first time I ever saw you was when you were doing this bit here. You were pretending to be a reporter for Fox News. Um, I'm not sure if this was early on in what you were doing, or if was this
Yeah. That was like
pre-pandemic?
that was during quarantine. That
Was
was
it?
before that was during quarantine, like before things were open but not really open. I think that was in 2021, because Hillary Clinton and I started doing that series in
Wait, what?
2021.
Did you say
There,
Hillary Clinton?
there's a creator. He's the other guy that was with me on January 6th. His TikTok name is Hillary Clinton.
Oh
Is,
shit!
Peter Scatini. He's an
Wait,
actor.
is that the guy who's at CPAC with you?
No, that's Logic Max. So the guy, so the person that is in that helps me create majority of my videos, majority of my content. We write jokes together. He does his own thing as well. Is Maximilian Clark, aka Logic Max. That Logic Max. He's great. He teaches logical fallacies for a living, and he
Oh
used to
shit!
be an American history teacher. So it's great to have him. Sometimes we'll be at these things and he'll get into debates with people, and they'll bring up, history, like when you're talking history with like MAGA, they'll bring up stuff that never happened, or it's like selective facts kind of stuff, and he'll be like, no, that never happened. And then he's like, no, that's also, yeah, no, that did happen, but not the way you think it did. And you're right. And you're like, oh, right. And he can talk about it, in depth. So, and that's, like, it's great. I mean, there's a thing on my YouTube where there's a great moment. We went to the March for Life rally to troll them and do the stuff. And we get into it with one of them, and they're like, oh yeah, have you read the Constitution? You want to look this up? And we had copies of the Constitution in our pocket. We're like, yeah.
Oh,
we like
shit.
hold it up. We're like, okay, because we're getting into this stupid argument over separation of church and state.
Mm-hmm.
And this conservative guy that we spoke to just happened to be like, you should have a pocket Constitution. We're like, sure, why not?
As a matter of fact,
20 minutes later, they're like, oh yeah, you have a Constitution, want to look that up? We're like, yeah, we actually do.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
by the
Maximilian Clark. Yeah,
Logic.
You
Max,
mentioned Logic Max.
You mentioned your YouTube channel. I just want to throw that up there, folks. For those of you who don't know, our friend here, Walter Masterson, has his own YouTube channel. It is literally a treasure trove. I guarantee you, if you go there, like, map out some time for yourself, get some popcorn or something. There's so much content there. It is hilarious. Make sure you put down some plastic or something in case you happen to be drinking a beverage and you do a spit take. Walter, I actually have a clip of your Fox News thing. Is it okay if I play that?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so we're not calling them terrorists anymore. We're calling them patriots. Okay, so the patriots stormed the Capitol, not the terrorists storming the Capitol.
They were just concerned.
Okay, concerned citizens are patriots. Sorry, it's my first day here. So concerned citizens stormed the Capitol today. All right, it kind of feels weird. Yeah. All right, so we're not talking about the Capitol Hill riots. No, just Benghazi. Great. Benghazi.
So it's this I got to tell you. So right now there's this big controversy over the Dominion lawsuit and all this private text messages from within Fox
Tucker.
News.
Oh yeah.
And and we now know that privately they felt much different about the they thought the stolen election thing was pure nonsense. All of them did, top to bottom, were like, this is absolute trash. So here's what happened is when after the election was called by Fox News, these people walked away from Fox and they went to OAN and to Newsmax. People might know this. I mean, then they lost. I watched this happen where they lost huge market share to OAN and Newsmax.
I didn't know that.
Huge. So I went to every Stop the Steal rally after. There was 2 Stop the Steal rallies before January 6th in DC. I went to both of them, and both times they referred to Fox News as the liberal media.
Oh my God.
It was weird. It was surreal. It was surreal to hear that. These people were like, Fox News is dead to me. And I remember one time there was a Fox News reporter walking through, and he was trying to get quotes from everyone, and I'm trying to fit in, and I'm yelling at him like, you fake news, liberal media, and everyone's like, yeah, you tell them. They were like CNN. They were like CNN to them. It was mind blowing. So, and then of course Fox News had to dial this back and say, I mean, I think the election was stolen because they were hemorrhaging their viewership. It was bizarre. Their viewership has just leveled out because they just said, all right, well, we're going to do all the things now. We have to. I mean, they're they're like held hostage by them because these people, they've gotten them so whipped up into a frenzy that they can't support any of this. I mean, like, I'm sure, all of these people at Fox News are vaccinated. So just for the record, to get into that building that they're in, it's not Fox News is in that building. They don't own that building. To enter that building under the vaccine mandate was lifted, you had to show a vaccine card. All of them had to show a vaccine card.
I remember that. Yeah.
Either all of them broke. So if you were on Fox News at that time during the vaccine mandate, you were vaccinated. Either that or you were like really breaking the law, like hardcore. You had a fake vax card, which, that's also, I'm sure that's also possible. But let's be honest. I think so. The employees, basically every employee that walked in that building was all vaccinated.
And they're busy.
Everyone that came on there as a guest had to be vaccinated to walk in the building. There was no special privileges. It was the building's own policy. It wasn't Fox News' policy.
And still, they're busy on the air pushing the narrative that the vaccine is crap, and
to get in. Because I remember I was trying to crash that place, and I almost got in, and I was like had this whole fake setup, and they were like, oh well, you have to show your vaccine card and stuff to get into our building, so make sure you bring that. And I was like, God damn it! I was like, I can't, I was like, you son, oh. So yeah, but back to the original point. They used to call Fox News the liberal media right after the election until they started, having to push the election denial nonsense.
That's insane. What made you decide to start doing this? Because in my personal opinion, what you do, first of all, is hilarious, right? It's very hilarious. Sometimes it's educational, and in like a voyeuristic kind of way, but also like I noticed that you are very well acquainted with the actual facts. You're acquainted enough with them, and I guess you have to in order to, turn them on their head to kind of, pass muster.
Yeah, I mean, because those questions that I'm asking, like we write them beforehand, because it's like, so the whole thing that I have to do is we have to know what they're going to say in reaction. So it's like we have to. My friend and I will be writing these questions, and we'll say, all right, because the whole comedy early on, I would, talk to one person and then get them to say, but the whole comedy, really, ideally, what we like to get is we like to get multiple people echoing the same sentiment. And that's like the odd version, like if it's like, all right, because we go into it. Sometimes we get one person to say a thing, and then like at CPAC, I didn't have enough time to get everyone because I got thrown out. So the goal was like, all right, well, here are our questions, and I want 5 people to say the exact same thing, the exact same response. So we were like very in tune to like what they're gonna say, what's gonna this. And then it started during the pandemic, started during quarantine, and I guess like you, like a lot of people, I was just like upset. And I was like, this sucks. I was like, not only does this suck, but like I remember like the moment for me where it flipped a switch was there were morgue trucks.
What's a morgue truck? I don't know what a morgue truck is.
So during quarantine, there were too many people dying inside these hospitals.
Oh, morgue. Oh, yeah.
Morgue trucks, modular morgue trucks outside of the hospital.
They were refrigerated, weren't they?
Yeah,
right?
And you couldn't hide that. I remember I had a friend who worked in the cafeteria of a hospital, and he was saying he's like, no matter where you worked in this hospital, you saw these bodies being brought out. It was impossible to fake. And so, that's disturbing, right? Like that alone is disturbing, that everything's closed. There's morgue trucks. And then I'm being told that none of this is actually happening. It's fake. It's planned. Those morgue trucks aren't real with this. And I just was like, I'm furious right now. I'm in the middle of this. This started. New York was one of the first places to like close down, and everyone else is saying, "Oh, it's a New York problem. It's not our problem." And I remember being like so like livid. I was like, "How?" Because it's one thing for us to just disagree. It's one thing for us to disagree on things. I'm progressive, you're conservative, and we have I have friends, we have conversations and debates, and it's fine because there's, we're not doing selective facts nonsense. Like we agree, like things happened.
Yeah.
And then we just, and it's a healthy debate. But I was like, this is like a denial of everything. So it was like this, this didn't happen. Climate change isn't real. And then George Floyd happened, and of course George Floyd, somehow it didn't happen. And I was like, right, I'm pissed. I was like, this is ridiculous. I also came from I've been through the legal system when I was younger as a white person. So I have a very different view of like when people talk about like white privilege and those. I'm like, yeah, no, like I went through the legal system. I've had to deal with police on both sides of this, and I see exactly how this plays out. So like I came into this. I started doing this at a time when I was just so upset because people are like, because George Floyd, like, not to center myself and make this about me, but like George Floyd, the critics of George Floyd were like, well, he passed a counterfeit $20 bill while he had all these drugs in his system, right?
Yeah.
I passed, when I was younger in my wayward youth, I passed counterfeit notes multiple times. And I had definitely had drugs in my system. I don't drink or do drugs anymore. But at the time I did. And there were multiple times that someone had given me counterfeit money. And I was like, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to dump this. I'm going to double it and give it to the next person. And so that, of course, when people talk about George Floyd, I was like, yeah, no, I've done this. And you can talk about a lot of instances where people were gunned down or executed by the police in situations that I was like, I've done that. I've led police on a chase.
Yeah.
But
you live to tell about it. You live to tell a story.
I live to tell about it. Look, the police one time thought I was an active shooter, and they, neutralized me. Yeah, they thought, it's the whole thing where they thought, and so they were able to deal with me. They didn't draw their weapons at all. I remember that, and they thought like I was a person that was with a gun or something. I was like,
holy shit!
I was shooting a BB gun. Someone called the cops, and the cops responded like, "Oh, this person's shooting a pistol." And I was arrested. I deserved to be arrested in that situation. I had to deal with a second-degree weapons assault charge, and I remember the cops brought me in, like no one drew their guns, and they thought they were dealing with an active shooter. But I was this white kid; they were not scared of me. So I was like, yeah, I know how when the police want to and they're not shook. Yeah, they know how to deal with it without murdering people and assaulting.
It's just an attitude that they're triggered when they see the color of someone's skin is, it's like that Family Guy meme with the chart of skin color, like terrorist versus stand by.
I tell a lot of protesters now, because I'll go to these things where like we're messing with these anti-abortion people that are trying to block Planned Parenthood, and I'll troll them, but I'm dressed as MAGA. Now, I got to tell you, every time I do it, these people get the cops involved. The cops remove me. They do this, whatever. Every time it takes the cops a while to sort of process what they're seeing, because I'm not dressed like Antifa. I'm not, my hair isn't blue. I'm not, femme presenting. I'm not, all of these things that you would stereotypically associate with progressives and this, the violent left. So, and I'm saying this openly because, what are the cops going to do? See this podcast and start beating up MAGA at protests? That would be hilarious.
Right.
If they saw this and they're like, oh yeah, next time I see MAGA in front of an abortion clinic, I'm gonna beat them up, because it might be Antifa.
Walter, I just want to interrupt you for a second because I have a clip of yours specifically where you were passing out at one of these anti-abortion rallies. You were attempting to pass out adoption forms, and I thought that was brilliant. Like, I mean, stand up and standing ovation type of brilliant. And there's a cop. Oh, wait a minute, I'm confusing. There was another rally where you
you're talking about the one with us making
where you
cake.
mixed the cake. First, the cop said, "Hey, he can protest."
Yeah, the cop did not know what to do with me. So there's another one. So you're gonna play that clip? Yeah.
Yeah, let me play this one first.
I wrote an application for you to adopt. I thought this is like the best place. I brought an application for you to adopt. I feel like you don't want to adopt.
You who take away the sin of the world.
I brought an application to adopt. Wait, am I interrupting you? Anyone want to fill out these adoption papers? An application to adopt. An application to adopt. Leave you alone. Am I interrupting you as you're harassing people trying to receive health care? Oh my God, I'm so rude. It's so rude of me. There's about 300,000 kids in the foster care system. I think each one of us adopts like 10,000 of them. I think we can clear the foster care system.
So
that was Logic Max's joke. He would run up and be like, okay, there's 300,000 kids in the foster care system. If each of us adopts like 20,000 each, I think we could clear it today.
That was such a brilliant bit because they are ready to get in your face and tell you what you should do with this child. Oh, okay, so you want to adopt one of them? Just one? They all pretended as though they couldn't hear what you were saying, or they just didn't want to hear it.
No. And so the other one that I did, we went to the March for Life rally. If you look at my YouTube, you'll see this one.
So, Peggy here says she worries about you when you get immersed among all those insane people. Do you ever feel like you're in danger?
Oh yeah, a few times. And the funny thing is that sometimes I've felt the most in danger in New York. I remember I've gone to Staten. There are times I went to Staten Island, Long Island.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I don't know how I'm getting out of here, bro. Like Staten Island, Long Island. People think people think, oh, I'm in a blue state, I'm protected. I was like, dude, have you been to some of these places? I remember I was removed from a school board meeting, and security's throwing me out. And I said to the security guard, I said, well, if you're gonna throw me out, can you just walk me to my car? Like, I was like, because I remember some of these parents had this like look of, it was beyond, and I was like, oh my God, like you were like filled like over the top with this anti-CRT, unmask the children, pronouns rage, just like.
But a lot of those folks are actually paid actors, right? That they don't even have kids in that school district. They just show up.
I hate the paid actors thing. I will say there were a fair amount of people that I knew for a fact. I remember being in this one Long Island school district, and there's people that showed up and they chased my friend and I out. Like it was like in the comedy movie, like where you like run and you dive through the window. Like it was that. It was just like hysterical. Like it was actually like comedy level escape. So like we run to the car, get in, start the car, and I gun the engine. And I go the wrong way through the parking lot. And I'm like, because I don't know the place, to the point where like the MAGAs that were chasing me were like pointing to the exit because they were like, no, it's that way. They were like, and I was like, oh, thanks, like, thank you.
Holy shit!
And I knew for a fact because I had interviewed them on other parts of Long Island. I was like, I know for a fact you don't have kids here. You're just coming here. There's a group called the Long Island Loud Majority. And like the leader is like he's a parody of MAGA. He wears a shirt, unironically, that says "super straight." Like he wears the leader of Long Island Lad Majority. This guy, he wears a shirt that says "super straight," and like has with no sense of irony. I was like, bro, like, dude. I mean, if you just like, if we were just joking about that, if you just admitted that was funny, I'd be like, you know what, like, we could have a laugh or two. But he's like says it like, yeah.
So you started this whole embedding yourself parody thing as a reaction to your own visceral anger
Yeah, like I knew that this
to the
was,
bullshit that's going on.
I knew it. Like it was like I know this is not like when I remember walking in there thinking, all right, I know for a fact you don't care about free speech. I know for a fact you don't want immigration, legal, illegal, any kind, right? Like I remember one of my first big videos, I said, these liberals think we're racist, that we don't want immigration. We just want them to come here legally, right? And they said, yeah. And then it was like, so Biden is actually planning to double the amount of visas. What do you think about that? And then they were like, oh, that's terrible. Right.
So
and it was like, and it played out exactly. And I've done that one multiple times, and it plays out exactly the way you think it does.
Sometimes when I'm watching your videos, it feels like you are intentionally pushing the envelope to the point of absurdity. Almost like I feel like you want to be, like you want to be busted at some, like, because you go.
I just know that
like,
I know the limits. I know the limits I can go. There's weird limits. I remember one time there's sometimes, like, I'll be honest, like these people that I'm speaking to are not, they're radicalized, but they're not like, I mean, some of them are dumb. They don't make fun. They're not like, when they're like visibly dumb, it's not like a fun bit. Like it doesn't look that, optics don't look meh. And I kind of stay away from that. For a multitude of reasons. But these people, like, they have cognition, and sometimes it kicks in, right? Like I remember I was making up stuff that Ted Cruz said just to see if they would agree.
If they're paying attention.
See if they would agree, like, oh, well, Ted Cruz said it, so I'll agree. And I remember them just being like, no, Ted Cruz would never say that. And I mean, they were eating out of my hand like a second earlier, and all of a sudden they were like, whoop, Ted Cruz would never say that.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Okay. And I was like, okay, like there's certain things where like suddenly like their cognition just kicks in and they're like, nope. Or like,
so you were just a few minutes ago, we're talking about the school board situation, which I think is probably one of the most dangerous situations you could put yourself into. I have another clip where you went to a school board, and at one point you had these people kind of eating out of your hands. I'm watching this with my wife, and I'm like, they're fucking applauding him. And I couldn't tell if like half of the audience kind of got you, because I'm assuming not the whole entire audience is packed full of morons. So maybe half of them knew what you were doing, and the other half were
the best ones, because I've seen this happen in real time, and I never expected that. So I remember my friend and I started going to these, and we thought like, well, they'll figure it out. Like, you're right. And I would watch. So when it's a big auditorium, it's a big room. And sometimes the best ones are when it's split 50-50. You got 50% progressives and conservatives. The progressives catch on real fast. They're like, this is absurd. He's messing with us. And they're like, this is nuts. Right. And then I'll get applause from conservatives. I'm like, and it kind of like it threw me in the beginning. I'm looking over like, that was like, it doesn't even make sense. Like I can't even say this with a straight face and you're applauding. Like, I know this, the one time, I said, I was talking about Black Wall Street.
And
I was like, yeah, you know what really destroyed Black Wall Street? Socialism.
I saw that one too.
They just started clapping. I was like, socialism killed Black Wall Street. it's like this very well documented, assault by, with the, the governor and, the state police to just, genocide and burn this thing down. But like, of course, socialism is socialism.
So let me play this clip real quick, and I want to find out from you what was the actual deal with this crowd in particular.
I'm here today because a second grade teacher thought it was appropriate to teach my child about pronouns. Pronouns. I was taught that there were only 2 pronouns, but thanks to the woke left, there are now 100 pronouns. I confronted the teacher and said, in our house, there are only 2 pronouns and that they need to respect our beliefs. As a patriot, I love freedom of speech. Who loves freedom of speech? I love freedom of speech, except when it comes to pride flags in schools, teaching history. There's a whole list of books I want to ban from the school library. I want to ban kneeling at football games. The point is we need to protect our children, okay, which is why we need more security in our schools. We need cops patrolling the hallway. We should also hire cops as teachers. And the students, they should also be cops, like in 21 Jump Street. Who saw that? Yeah. We need to, get back to the fundamentals. We need to take down the pride flag, put the American flag back up, and we need to force every child to salute it in the morning, right? That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
That was one of those things where people eventually caught on. That was very raucous crowd because that was in Connequa, Long Island. That wasn't in Nebraska. It's not Nebraska. It's not Oklahoma. It's in Long Island, Connequa. And there were a bunch of people because what happened was they wanted to take down the pride flag, and they were upset. This started as this rumor on Facebook where some people got they were like, oh, look at this, this stupid out of context, outrage of someone took a picture and was like, look how small the American flag is in this classroom and look how big the pride flag is. So they the parents got nuts about it. They had the school chancellor or whatever, the head of the school board is part of the Long Island Loud majority, and they had I honestly wish that I had more time to go into that because that was the biggest 3-ring circus. So it was conservative progressives going at it, right, about this pride flag, right, and then you had the teachers union jump in because the school hadn't given them a contract yet. And it was, they were well into the school year. So the teachers union, you had these guys coming in, salt of the earth, your board members throwing a kids at, you're taking down, and you had them explaining it in very clear terms. You had this union guy coming, he goes, it's proven to keep kids safe, that pride flag, these board members, they ambushed the teacher, forced them to take down, and you hear this sort of provincial accent, and you're like, huh, I'm not expecting that, him to speak very eloquently on the topic.
Yeah.
And at the same time, siding with the teacher who's part of a teachers union, and the teachers union sued the school board. And it was so you had these 3 things going in at the same time. And then you had also people coming in that went to the school, you had alumni coming in to speak, talking about how swastikas used to be painted on their house, how they, it's I was queer, my friend was queer, my parents took me out of the school, put me in a nice private school, my friend stayed, my friend who was Black and queer stayed, and they unalived themselves. And, very harrowing, very emotional stories of people's experience in this town, in this school. You're this isn't, it's a very nasty history that needs to be atoned for. And it wasn't you know, people like this guy and people saying like, all right, this is, and then you had kids come in and they were like, you know, and they were like the funniest with the like, you know, really? You had this like, you know, queer kid with a Long Island accent coming in and be like, really? They're thinking I'm, you know, we're identifying as cats and dogs and we got a litter box. You know, we don't, he's like, we don't want a litter box in the bathroom. All right. You know, pull your head out of your ass, you know, like that type. It was so like, it was this 3-ring circus that I walked into. And just for the record, I know about these because you have parents that say, listen, we want you to show up. And I think I always think
you,
me.
They want you to show up.
And so
as
they know exactly what's going on. They're like, you come on. And I'm thinking to myself, right? You're a parent. Are you a parent? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you're a parent. How bad do things have to get in your school before you're DMing someone on Twitter or TikTok and saying, you know what? You're a total stranger. I've never met you before, but I want you to do your thing, but over here. I want you to come to my community and just take a dump. And I was thinking, because I thought like how things have to be that really bad for you as a parent to say that.
How many different states have you been to? States in, you know, for these school board meetings?
So New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan. I remember, so there was one, Logic Max and I went to one in Michigan. This is a funny one.
Michigan is kind of scary, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean,
we were there for this QAnon conference to mess with them, and he saw that there was this school board meeting. He's like, "Oh, let's do it." We walked in, and the school board meeting was being run perfectly. It was being run the way, like, it was, you know, it was a positive,
not crazy
environment, and things. It was so normal, and we were like, we shouldn't be here, and we just sort of we backed away, like, never mind, and we were like, and we were like, I remember us leaving. We're like, why can't, like, that was so simple. Like, people, it wasn't toxic. There weren't people there that, you know, that were like, you know, there to create toxicity and insanity.
Right.
And then you have other ones where it just were like terrifying. Like there's one in, you know, Jersey where like they were normally like, you know, pride flag up or down. That's an issue that we can discuss. The pride flag should stay up. It should go down. Right. And we can have a conversation about that. Right. I think it's stupid if you want to take it down. Right. However, these people came in and this parent had told me, like, you got to see this for yourself. We came in and it was spooky because they were complaining about stuff that wasn't happening. And we were like, what are you talking about? They were like, gender ideology is being taught at your school, gender this, and all this stuff is being taught. And who's paying you to teach this? Like, you know, the big Soroses are paying you to teach this. They said this with a straight. This guy point blank asked the school board, I want to know how much you're actually getting paid to teach this. The school board, no one's paying us. And he's like, oh, okay. It was so weird. He was like, oh, all right. And they were like, they were like the itinerary, the school, the syllabus. There was nothing that said anything about gender ideology. But they were like, no, you're teaching it. We know you're teaching it. We have the proof, and they were like, it was bizarre. These people, I was like, these people are crazy.
Walter, it definitely feels to me like there is a concerted effort to kind of weaponize these parents, school boards, and parent meetings,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera.
School choice. School choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
the school choice has a lot. Private industry is dying to get their hands on public education money. So let me explain how this works. So based on the district, let's just make up a number. So let's just say $10,000, right? So your school district, for every child that is enrolled in a school district in your district, it's the state, city, municipality gives $10,000, right? Let's just, if you get federal funds, if you get city, state, whatever, $10,000 per head, right? Whereas with school choice, they want to, expand this charter system where that is going to, for every, they get the voucher and all that, and then it's, they get 100 kids, and then they get the $10,000 each from the state. These same people that are, against communism and this and that, and it's, like all the Cato Institutes, the libertarian think tanks, all that stuff, they're all for it. And every attack that you make on public education is emboldening this movement. Not a lot of liberals know about this, hear about it.
Yeah.
No, really, it's not. It's one of these things that but I mean, every MAGA rally, QAnon, any of these conservative things, they talk about school choice. And it, on its face, it sounds so innocuous, right? School choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Hey, you and they can weaponize using progressive language, they can weaponize it and be like, well, why wouldn't you want, a person of color from, a poor district to be able to go to the school of their choice? Why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want that? And you're like, yeah, school choice is not that. That is not.
They want to undermine the public schools. Ultimately.
Yeah, they want that money going into private industry. I mean, it worked great for private prisons. So, I mean, think of private prisons, right? Instead of that money,
it's a whole industry.
It's like a private company is running the prison. You take that same model. I mean, except the inmate can't choose to go to a private prison, but you get the point. But that is what I think, that is what's behind it, because every day it's like a new thing, right? Like, it was like critical race theory, and all of us kept saying, no one's teaching critical race theory, but like, they don't care about that. None of that matters. Then it's gender ideology, and we're all like, when are they're not teaching gender ideology, right? And it's like all these things that we're like, no one's teaching that, bro. Like, what are you, huh?
It's been frustrating for me to watch that, specifically on the whole, when they started doing that with the CRT thing, because like, we knew that CRT was not being taught in school K through 12, but I wasn't hearing enough loud pushback on this. In my opinion, like, this was a runaway narrative, and nobody was squashing it back hard enough or forcefully enough to make a dent.
Yeah, that's one of my that upsets me with regards to progressives. And there's this disconnect where progressives don't hear about something until it's a mainstream thing, right? Like, until, like, we don't hear about the conspiracy. Your normal person doesn't hear about the conspiracy until it has reached mainstream success, and at that point, it's a bit too late, right? And so, that's one of my chief criticisms of like the Democratic Party, is like they don't push back on anything. You're like, dude, can you counter message this? Like, this song is about you, bro. Like, like, can you come out with a diss track, like, in reply to this? And they, so that, like, and it was, it's obviously being used to weaponize. CRT wasn't being taught, but DEI was being taught. But
wait,
you can't really be against DEI.
Diversity. I've been hearing that a lot.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And like they demonize the word equity. And
I've only started hearing the DEI a lot in the past month or two. That's all. I hadn't heard it prior to that.
But the thing is that most schools have a DEI program in it. I mean, even your most, middle of the road, moderate schools have a DEI program. It's hard to really be against diversity, equity, the concept of equity. And they demonized it when, like, if you had equity, like what, like, so visual aid, some people.
Equity to me is a level playing field. No?
Equity's like some people, so, all right. So great example of equity. Do you have a step ladder in your house?
Yes.
great. You practice equity, because some people in your house are too short to reach the top shelf and they use the ladder. Some people are tall enough where they can just grab it. Fantastic
Oh,
example. The concept of equity is a stupid step ladder. So I like to point that out
that's
when people are
great.
like, "Oh, equity," and you're like, "All right, do you have a step ladder in your house? You dumb, you're like, yeah." And so they're like, "No, equity." They're like, "We believe in equality." That's the the conservative retort, like, "No, not equity, equality." And they demonize. So CRT was very helpful in demonizing the word equity and demonizing your DEI program. And that like it was upsetting to me, because a lot of the principles in the DEI program were things that I had access to going to. Like, I went to a nice school. I went to a very nice Jesuit school. It was a wonderful school, Fordham Prep in the Bronx. And they,
Oh, yeah.
they had things that were like, so DEI is like, part of it was dealing with someone, like, let's say they came from a different area and their dialect was just, not the dialect of the area, and you train teachers to be like, don't fail this kid. They're from their dialect is different. They're speaking, heavy AAVE, and, to work with them. Don't fail them at math. They're probably very, don't
The
dismiss them as stupid.
the
Right?
AAVE, that's the Ebonics. Yeah.
Yeah, the African, yeah. And so, however, if you're a conservative, you can flip that around and go, oh, well, now AAVE is the official language of the public school system. And you're like, no, it isn't. You're just training teachers to not fail the students.
Right.
You're training like some white liberal teacher whose good intention is just going to hear it and automatically be like, this person is dumb. And you're training them to be like, no, this person's not dumb. Their
Mhm.
dialect, they just moved. They've been here for
Yep.
whatever. Another thing is finding out ways to deal with a problem student that don't involve expelling them.
You didn't go to school for education by any chance, huh? You seem to be very, very well versed. Like, do you have friends
I
who are
blame Fordham
teachers?
Prep for that one. Fordham Prep was yeah. I have a very interesting educational journey. I went to Fordham Prep, loved it, and they, I blame the Jesuit priests at Fordham Prep for radicalizing me. And then I went to college. I wanted to be an actor, and I was like, what am I doing here? I went to like a bunch of different, I went to like, school for design. I went to, like Fashion Institute. I went to college for
Wow.
acting. And I was just kind of bored. I was learning the same stuff in college that I was like, I feel like I've already learned this in high school. Like, and I kind of was very like, I was frustrated because I was like, I learned this thing already, like, whatever. And then I left and I was like, I want to be an actor. I want to be entertaining. I want to entertain. I don't need a college degree for this. And look at me now. I make TikToks on the internet.
And I just
Yeah.
gotta say, I appreciate what you do, and I want to throw this up here, folks. Walter here has he has this thing called it's Ko-fi,
Oh, coffee,
Ko-fi.com
coffee.
coffee,
I
right?
couldn't tell you how to pronounce it, but if you want to call it
Kofi.
coffee,
You
yeah, like,
want if you want
buy me a
uh,
coffee if you like my videos.
buy him a coffee. He deserves it. Deserves a whole lot more. You're doing amazing work. Again,
Send me money.
it's not just for laughs. I feel like you're in this. Like you probably can't change too many hearts and minds. Doing what you do the way you do it, but I feel like at some point it's got to make an impact. I wonder if
I
these
hope it
people
does.
ever get like ever see themselves in your video and like, hey, wait a minute, this dude was clowning me.
I
There was
had
one guy at the CPAC,
Oh,
and
he
I
got me removed. He got me tossed.
yeah, yeah. So here, let me just fast forward. There was so much I wanted to cover with you, but like you got a lot of shit that's really good to discuss. So guys, Walter and his and Max uh were at CPAC and they got tossed. Were you expecting to get tossed or were you surprised by that?
See, the funny thing is that we were passing multiple people that we had messed with. There were like people that were in viral videos of ours. There's one guy, it was one Proud
From
Boy.
rallies.
Yeah, like there was one Proud Boy that I had messed with, and he and I had some exchange that went viral. I remember he walked by and was like, and I was like, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this guy comes up while I was talking to the Moms for Liberty, and like I just finished, like, and I was like, I got good content from the Moms for Liberty woman. That was the video where she's talking about how the schools are teaching empathy.
Yeah, she was surprisingly knowledgeable, I thought.
Social emotional learning. Yes. Social, and I mean, she was insane. She was insane. Like the social emotion. She was Moms for Liberty, and I was like, what's the new threat besides critical race theory and gender ideology? She's like, social emotional learning, where they talk about empathy and they teach kids how to feel. And you're like, you're a crazy person. Like, how crazy do you have to be to like think that this is and that's right in the middle of interviewing where that kid ran up and said, don't talk to him, he's a Democrat, which is a weird thing. Like, I don't think most people identify as Democrats. Like, you're progressive. We all like look at the Democratic Party and we're like, oh God, can you guys get it together? Like, please. like, are you our only like, stop, anything against fascism? Like, this is what's stopping us from you? Like, like sometimes you just want to like shake them and be like, just, like, come on, like, do something, like, do things, like,
guys,
like, I've never been like, I'm a Democrat.
This I want to make sure we get this here, guys. This is Walter's YouTube page. It's youtube.com/user/Walter Masterson. Make sure you go to that page to check out his specifically. Check out
click on a playlist and then just leave. Click on like a bunch of them and open 5 different tabs of like all my playlists where I'll play like 60 videos, and just like go out and go shopping or something. And I'll just racking up the money. Like the ads will play full through, and like the YouTube algorithm will just like
you earlier today, I have to get to this because this is topical here. You tweeted banning TikTok would effectively destroy the progressive movement in this country. Let's talk about it. And then you posted a thread. Now, is your content primarily on TikTok, or is it primarily on Twitter or YouTube?
I'll be okay. Like, I have a very big following on multiple platforms. Like, I still have the biggest following on TikTok. I've got like 1.2 million followers on TikTok.
Wow.
I've got, a few, 100,000 on Twitter, Instagram, and stuff, but on YouTube. But it's like,
why is TikTok so important for the progressive
I feel like
movement?
Initially, like, look at Trump wanted to ban it, and like he said it was China, and I'm like, we know that's not true, because
it was those kids that messed up his rally.
So they remember that they humiliated him. He didn't see it coming either. They all signed up, and then boom, empty rally, screwed him up. I mean, that doesn't work anymore. That people sign up for his rallies now. I'm like, this is not gonna work. But my thing is like, don't sign up for his rally. Go to his rally and boo him. I was like, if 10,000 of us showed up to a rally of his and booed him off stage, right? It's just that most of us, the average person, is very afraid to go there.
And also, it's like it's painful to even watch. I tried watching one of his stupid ass rallies on Fox News when they were still carrying the rallies. I don't think they're carrying them anymore. But I tried watching it, and it's painful just to sit there for 5-10 minutes and listen to him drone on and on about his election laws.
Oh, and he doesn't, dude. He does, and he like, it's like, like then the channel just changes. He just like switches gears, talks about something else. He just like talks straight, like just, and I've been there. One of the ones that I'm so proud of. This is like my crowning achievement. The first rally he did after he lost the election because he's a loser. So the first rally he did, came back, did it. I went there, and people were leaving. They were leaving like by the hundreds, by the thousands.
Oh,
People were exiting, and I got a 360-degree view of this. And you can see and hear him in the background talking. He's not done. He's still talking, and he's not close to done either. And these people are like, I gotta beat the rush. I gotta. And I was asking them. I was like, "You guys are leaving? You're leaving?" And I even went as far as to ask one person. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Well, a lot of them came to be like, thinking that he was going to reveal his master plan to get back into office. And then it became clear after the first 30 minutes, they're like,
there's no plan.
We love you, but you got nothing, bro. And Brian Williams picked up that video and showed it. And it was humiliating. And then this is what happened. He went and did another rally, because I know he was humiliated by this. My proof is because he did another rally where he didn't let anyone leave. They said, "Oh, you can't leave in the parking lot. You can't get out until he leaves because, Secret Service, national security." We're like, really? So and yet people there, stuck in, it was freezing cold. They were furious. You can look this up. They were like stuck there, and they couldn't get out because everything was blocked in. And he locked him in for a few hours until he was done, until he left. Then everyone else could leave. And I know that they had nothing to, let's be honest, right? Like, people just coming and going from an event, that's a threat to your national security. No, it's not. And I was like, that was, yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Listening to him, I've listened to him so many times. I've listened to all of these, the worst people that you've heard of. I've had to listen to them. I spent time on the campaign trail. I listened to Carrie Lake a dozen times. And I can't even, I'm like, just for the record, I'm glad she wasn't elected, because she could have been,
and that hasn't stopped her from, she's still hanging in there though. She's going to go for another 10 recounts or whatever. Yeah.
That's humiliating, dude. Like, at this point, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know how you could embarrass yourself more than Trump, but she figured that out.
Let me ask you this. Are you known by too many people to be able to continue? Like, there was a point where Borat, for instance, right, was too well known.
If anyone does works in special effects, makeup, hit me up. If you work in prosthetics, know people that work in prosthetics, hit me up. I mean, of recent though, I was like, it's getting to a point where I'm like, after CPAC, I was like, I walked in and there was like a ton of people that knew me right away, and I was like, damn. Because it's funny, because it used to be, what's funny is used to be that we're a very divided nation, and so people don't have this access to the same media, and they don't know how to use media, and this. So a lot of times I would go viral, and I'm well known amongst these people. And then you have people that they have no idea who I am. So, I mean, that's a common thing. Like, I'll walk through New York or another state and get recognized. And then you have people that have literally no clue as to who I am. So it's like, it's very, even when they try to warn people about me, it's like, sometimes they don't, it doesn't work the same way.
Are you going to keep this going through 2024, through the election, and go to some
absolutely.
Trump rallies? And how about DeSantis rallies? Can you get into a DeSantis rally even?
I mean,
I hear he's a bit of a snowflake.
DeSantis, I want you, because I would love for Trump to run again as the Republican Party nominee, because I mean, there's so much that you could show to be like, all right, you're terrible, dude. And then whereas DeSantis, I mean, it's like he doesn't, pulled off an insurrection or anything yet. So, I feel like he is more reserved, and he would be, you can't like push him into something. At the same time, though, when I was at CPAC, no one was about DeSantis at all. So like DeSantis, I feel like they'll settle for DeSantis. It'd be like sort of the settle for Biden. The way a lot of progressives settled for Biden. They might jump behind him at the last minute, maybe. But, I'm hoping that Trump gets the nomination over DeSantis because,
I personally am kind of worried about DeSantis. I think he's trouble. He's scary. He's scary to me.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like he's
straight up.
He's like, well, he actually has an ideology. Trump doesn't really have an ideology. I mean,
yeah,
isn't really. He's just a bigot. He doesn't really have. He just sees like this access to power. While I feel like DeSantis actually believes in these things. I mean, when you listen to him when he was a school teacher, hanging out with, partying with little children, I mean, he would say things like, "Thank you." He'd say things like, the Civil War wasn't about slavery and things like that, where you're like, that's, like you were like, he was a JAG lawyer. He was educated enough to know better.
Harvard. Yeah.
Harvard. And so, like he definitely knows better. Like, it's like, like Tucker Carlson. It's like Tucker Carlson's smart enough where you're like, when you're being a white supremacist, you're not like accidentally, you have a lot of these people that like, they're like, I didn't know I was being racist. And you're like, oh, you are kind of dumb. Like, I get it. Like, I get that you're too stupid to figure any of this out, but you're like, like a Tucker Carlson, a DeSantis, Ben Shapiro, they know damn well what they're saying.
They're smart. They're smart enough to disguise the shit that they're saying so that it's kind of deniable, but not really.
Yeah. That's why I love Kanye. He just didn't know. He's like people. Like all of his, white nationalist friends are coding up. Instead of they're like, oh, we don't say Jews, we say globalists. And he's like, no, just say Jews, bro. Like, what's wrong?
Didn't know.
Remember him on Alex Jones? He's like, I like Hitler. And Alex Jones like, I don't think you meant it that way. He's like, and then he's like, I like Hitler. Okay, right.
That was crazy.
Alex Jones,
that was just insane.
Walk it back,
All right,
live in a weird. I just want to say, it's a weird world. There's a Kanye is a white supremacist. There's the head of the Groypers, who's a literal white nationalist, white supremacist. His last name is Fuentes. One of the leaders of the Proud Boys is Latino.
Oh, Nick. Wait, is it Nick Fuentes?
His last name.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a white supremacist, and the people that defend him, they're like, he's not a white supremacist, he's a Christian nationalist. But like, all right, amazing how Christian nationalists sound like white supremacists.
Potato.
Yeah.
All right, now Walter, we are at the part of the show where we do. This is my favorite part of the show. This is the guessing game, right? So how this works is, before we get to that, let me just remind those of you who are just joining the show, please remember to hit the subscribe button and also the like button. It's the thumbs up there that helps the channel tremendously. So hit both of those, please. Now, the guessing game is, I'm going to give you a choice of several categories, one of several categories, and it's basically you have to guess and see what is what.
Wait a second. Wait. Let me do this with my MAGA hat. So wait. Okay, here we go. Let's do this.
Okay, so the categories are: name that movie character quote, the Friends trivia game. It's just friend trivia, trivia from Friends. Name that Prince song. In this one, I'm actually singing the lyrics to certain Prince songs. You have to guess what song it is. And the last one is Seinfeld trivia.
Okay, so just as as a conservative libertarian, I just want to say for the record, you could never make any of those shows today because everything's just so woke. There, I said it. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's continue. Let's do some Seinfeld trivia. Okay, I can get on that.
Seinfeld. All right. Boom. So I'm going to ask you questions, and if you guess correctly,
nice,
you get the cowbell. And if you guess incorrectly, let me just cue this up here. You get that.
So for everyone playing at home, that's shock to my testicles.
Okay. Where's my thing? Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, so Seinfeld, here's the first question. Seinfeld is often described as a show about what?
Nothing. I mean, that was
you are correct, sir.
That'd be weird if I didn't get that.
Yeah. We start off with the easy ones, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get increasingly more difficult.
All right.
Here's question number 2. What's the name of the coffee shop where Jerry and his friends spend a lot of their time?
God damn it, I know this. Oh my God. How do I not know this?
Doom, 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 boom, 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 boom.
Dude, I'm spacing on it. You got me, dude.
Oh, really?
You got me, dude. I'm a total blank. I don't know why. What is the name? What is the name? Wait, no, what's the name?
We were looking for monks. You can see on the wall
I
there.
Never would have gotten that. Yeah. Oh my God, I never would have gotten that. Yeah.
Okay, next one. You ready?
Yeah.
Who died
from his fiance. Yeah, because he bought the cheap one. He bought the cheap envelopes, right? Because he was going to save money on the thing, because they were the self stick, and then the ones that you have to lick it to make it adhesive. And he was doing it to save money. So she licked all of them and died. And then he came back to get the envelopes again, order from the same place. And they're like, "Oh, didn't you get it for the wedding? How'd that work out?" And he's like, and he takes a pause and he's like, "No complaints." Right?
You know what? You know what's funny about that show? Like in the beginning, like years ago, I had seen the series finale, and I thought, wow, that sucked. And a lot of people too, they hated the series finale.
Oh, yeah,
I never watched every single episode back to back the way I did last year. Last year, I decided I'm going to start from season 1 and go all the way to the final episode. And I just kept telling my wife, I was like, these people suck. They are assholes. And then by the time I got to the final episode, I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. I remember I started watching that show because Kramer, I saw him in that Weird Al Yankovic movie, UHF.
Yes, he was brilliant.
I was like, this guy is brilliant. And then when I was like, oh, he's in something else. I'm watching it. Like, this guy's a genius. This guy's great, of course. Yeah. And then, yeah.
Okay, here's the next one. Which main cast member does not appear in the pilot? The very first episode of Seinfeld. Which one does not appear?
Oh. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, so obviously Jerry Seinfeld appears in the main episode. I felt like I saw Kramer. I'm going to say Elaine, because I swear I saw Kramer in the beginning.
You are correct. That was an excellent guess. Yes. Oh wow, very very well
Didn't they
done.
like need a love interest? They needed like a love interest, but because it was like, all right, this is just a bunch of dudes. Like it needs something.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure why they didn't have her in the first episode, but it's so good that they brought her in because she was also brilliant. Brilliant. All four of them, actually. I think Jerry was probably the weakest character of the four of them.
Oh yeah,
All
no,
right.
he even looks like admittedly like the weakest, but yeah, it was just yeah.
Who does Jerry describe as his nemesis and pure evil?
Newman?
Once again, sir, you are correct. Hello, Newman.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
next question. What is Kramer's first name?
Cosmo.
You are on a roll, my friend. Let's keep it going. What is George Costanza's alias? What is the fake name that he comes up with?
The Vandalay Industries with the Vandalay Industry.
We'll give you that one. We're looking for Art Vandalay. Art Vandalay.
Art Vandalay Industries. Okay, yeah.
Okay, next
and
question.
You want to be my
Who invented Festivus?
Was it the dad? Was it
Who's dad?
Costanza's dad? Festivus for the rest of us? Yeah.
That's right. Rest in peace, Jerry Stiller. Yes.
Yeah.
He passed away. That's sad. During surgery, what candy is accidentally dropped into Elaine's boyfriend's open abdomen?
Junior men. Yeah.
Oh, you are a fan of the show. Yes, you are correct. And we're a Junior Mint. Next question. Oh, actually, this is the final. This is the next and final question. Is where did George Costanza
a whale? And that's the one. That's the one where he says he's like a biologist.
Yes.
Oh no. But the problem. So the problem was that like he was like he's a pathological liar, but it was so Jerry runs into some old friend. And she's like, what happened to your friend George? Like, he seems like and she thought he was kind of a loser. And so he's like, oh, no, he's actually doing great. He's a biologist.
A marine biologist.
Marine biologist. And he's like, and then he's so mad. He's like, why? He's like, why? He's like, you lie all the time. He's like, yeah, but I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And you don't know what you're doing. This is not.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. It's one of my favorite quotes. All right, well done. I think you only missed one question.
I didn't know the damn name of the diner, and it's it's a real diner that's on the Upper West Side.
Yeah,
it's not the name of it. The name isn't Monks. It just says diner. I was like, it just says diner, but yeah, it's Monks.
But well done. Last but not least, this final segment is called My Favorite Things. There are no wrong answers. These are just things that you happen to like or not like. And so we do this thing rapid fire. We're going to run right through it. You ready?
Yes, let's go.
Favorite TV show to binge watch?
Community.
Oh, so good. Favorite cartoon?
Well, before the abuse charges, Rick and Morty was like my favorite.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I heard. I heard about that.
I was like, can we just why are you beating your wife, dude? Like, come on. I like your show. Like, I would have.
Allow me to suggest The Venture Brothers for you if you haven't already seen it. It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Favorite comedy movie?
Favorite comedy movie. That's a good one. I mean, growing up, I watched the shit out of UHF with the original Kramer. That was like my type of like absurd humor. That was a favorite growing up. It's like I was like, this is absurd.
I watched that a lot too. I did watch that a
Yeah,
lot too.
that was
UHF is a good one. Weird Al is funny.
yeah.
Favorite stand-up comedian?
Ooh, okay. One of my favorites, and I found out he follows me on Twitter, was Gary Gulman.
Oh, I know Gary Gulman.
Gulman is like so good, and I don't get like why he's not
Bigger.
just more like like I think he's just heads taller than anyone with what he does. And it's like, I mean, he released a special.
You got drag racers over there.
Yeah. He released a special with Judd Apatow about his depression and going through his depression. So that was, that was sad, unfortunate. So like, I mean, I was about to say, I don't know why he, hasn't done bigger things, but it's like, no, we had to fight off depression. But I mean, he was like, that dude is masterful. Like, I'm starting to get into stand-up, and you watch people like him, and you're like, I quit, dude. This is too good, right?
Okay, favorite fast food?
Shake Shack.
Ooh,
Shake
good choice.
Shack. Yeah.
Favorite Republican politician?
Wow, that's a good one. Whew. Favorite Republican politician? Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Does Joe Biden count? Joe Biden.
God.
I mean, with the Willow Project, he's been. I mean,
he's disappointed a lot of people
Republican
with that.
favorite. He was, he's like, all right. I mean, he's been great at, it's a lot of times
he's still the most progressive president that we've had in a very long time.
Well, I mean, that's because the Overton window is so far to the right that Joe Biden, like, it hurts my brain. Like, I said this on the internet. I said this on Twitter that Joe Biden is a center-right president. I say this a lot, and conservatives like heads like just melt, their brains melt trying to process that information. I was like, it's objectively like center right. Like, this is, he's a center right person. And whenever they like to bring up that he doesn't, they're like, oh, well, Joe Biden did this. I was like, yeah, he's a pretty conservative guy. Like, that's why he did that thing. I was like, that makes sense. They're like, and he's, Joe Biden's left wing, and you're like, really? Like,
Okay. Favorite singer or group?
Favorite singer
or group?
Or group. Wow.
I didn't expect that to be so difficult.
Oh, John Legend. Legend.
Good one.
I mean, I was like, it was kind of like when I get married, I was going to have the happy birthday song, his happy birthday song play. I want that to like play like my wedding reception with my future wife.
Favorite Twitter account?
God, what is that? What is this account? There's like one. Oh my God, there's a few. There's like this one guy who makes like no sense. It's all. What's the skull? Like the skull and like it's like this thing. It's just a skull. He's like this British guy, something vids, and he's just snarky British, British guy. Damn it, who's the guy?
I will come back to you on that one. Beer or wine?
I don't drink, so.
Oh, that's right. Good for you.
Yeah.
I'm going on this year. August 17th will make 20 years for me.
Oh, fantastic! Good for you, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hold on. There we go.
Well, that's much better.
Yeah. It's like I'm like watching it get progressively darker. By the way, we're both Brooklynites, right?
That's right. Yeah.
What general area of Brooklyn are you in?
From all over, actually. Originally, the first place was Flatbush, and then East New York, Canarsie, then back to Flatbush. All over.
Oh, very cool.
French fries or freedom fries?
I mean, freedom fries. I mean, if just if you love America, and you have to, when you eat fries, you need to, eat them every time. You're like, I love America, and that type of passion.
That's right. Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, vintage Colbert was more like my speed. So yeah, it's funny. I listened to some interview of his on like Conan, and he's talking about how he left doing what he was doing after a few years because it was burning him out, and he was watching the Republican Party get worse, and he's like, "This is burning me out," and I was like, "I feel you on that, bro. Like I've been doing this. I'm a few months in, and this is wearing me down. So, like, I can't imagine if you're like." Like this for 5 years straight. I can imagine him wanting to like just, exit that one.
I hope you don't burn out. I hope you're able to stay.
I had to take a step break. I remember in 2021, I had to take a 3-month break where I just did nothing. It was like I met, my partner. And, it's like this thing where I was like, I can't do this. I can't engage. I can't go to rallies, can't do any of this stuff because I was like, I had done too much. And I was like, I'd also kind of went, like, I remember I started in June of 2020. And like I went straight through and like, a year and a half later, I was like, all right, I need to give myself a break.
If you could live anywhere on the planet, where would that be? I didn't mean for all these to be stumpers,
I know, but these are like, yes, anywhere on the planet. Anywhere on the planet, you say. I live, on them. Say, I want to say, I'm like, oh, yes, I want to live. Where should I live? I want to live in Paris. I want to live in Italy. But more like somewhere expensive in Brooklyn, like, that like place in the water.
Oh, by the Brooklyn, by the promenade. That shit. Those are some expensive brownstones over there.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Like the gentrified, the white part, there's like 5 equinoxes and lattes cost like $20. And you're like, ooh. Yeah.
If you could do any job for one day, what would that be? And you'd be a pro at it. Ooh, can't hear you, buddy. Did we lose your audio?
Yes, sir.
There we go.
I could do any job for one day. Just I want to be a cop for one day, and then so then we're like, hey, you don't know how hard it is. I'd be like, no, I was a cop for a day. Like, fuck off. Like, shut up. Like, right? They're like, hey, you don't know what it's like. I was like, actually, I kind of do. I was like, I did it for a day. So,
and I didn't kill anybody.
I didn't. I killed. Well, actually, no. I killed like a bunch of people, and I still got away with it. So yeah.
Any particular charities or foundations / organizations close to your heart or that you support?
Charities and foundations. My girlfriend's back. She's saying hi. What's our favorite charity, honey? Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, is that a bad one?
No, that's excellent. That's President Carter's one. I made that face because last night my daughter says that she wants to raise money for Habitat for Humanity. So
it's just a funny argument. We're like getting she and I got in this argument over like, I was like, oh, I want to do stuff with this mutual aid, and she's like, let's do stuff for housing. You're like, there's people have enough food, it's housing, and I was like, well, we could do both, like so, but it was just a very comical.
Hey, don't run me out.
It was a very funny debate that we had. It's like it's non-debate, but it's like, but yeah,
it's a good one.
It's
All
just a question. What's a good thing to drop off at the community fridge? Like there's like a mutual aid. And I was like, we were like, what should we drop off at this fridge? There's a community fridge where you just put food in, take food out, no questions asked. And I was like, what can I put in there? But it's a fridge though, so it's like you can put I mean, I want to do that too.
A whole chicken, a roast chicken.
Oh, okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay, cool.
And you can buy them already roasted.
Yeah. It's like you get the ones for like $7, $10. Okay.
So good too. Now I'm hungry. Tonight is pizza and movie night here at the Brooklyn Dad home. So we're going to
movie.
Not sure yet. I think we might actually start watching Andor. A lot of people have been recommending that since I'm all about Mandalorian, and I tweeted that Mandalorian is better than a lot of the Star Wars movies that have come out in the past 20 years.
God damn it. Like, what is with that? And you're like, and you realize how bad it's like Rogue One. You watch Rogue
One was awesome.
Yeah, and you're like, the people who did Rogue One, the people who did Mandalorian, Andor should be the only people in charge of Star Wars. Like, that's it. There should Congress needs to get together and pass a law. Like, right, can we just agree that like these Star Wars movies are falling out of the asshole of the entertainment industry, and it's like one of these things. It's like that's kind of like voting, right? It's like it's like voting for some of these candidates. It's like a Star Wars movie. It's like you're gonna see it, and Disney knows you're gonna see it too, and you're like, oh. Damn it. You're like, it sucks though. And Disney's like, you're going to watch it. Not only are you going to watch it, you're going to like it. And you're going to pay to see it in the theater. And you're like, no, I'm not. They're like, yes, you are. You piece of shit. Yeah. And you're like, oh, yes, I am. And you're like, and then you see it and you're like, oh. And then when they do something good, you're like, wait, this was possible? You're like, wait, it was that easy? Like, when they make something,
I think that the TV shows are a different form, and possibly easier to control the quality and the character development and all that stuff.
I mean, Rogue One was fantastic.
Rogue One was great. You had my man Donnie Yen in that thing. Whew, loved his character.
Yeah.
All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we were here with Walter Masterson. This is his Twitter handle, but I believe it is also his Instagram handle.
Everything handle.
It's his everything handle, but there's a link tree.
Platform you're on, Grindr, Parlor. They should make a Parlor. They should make like a Grindr and Parlor. They should just merge it. For all like these closeted gay Republicans, like Grindr and Parlor.
So there's a link tree on Walter's page. You can find all of his links there. Also, he's got a coffee account. Coffee.
Yeah, send me some Soros love. There we go. Just click that and just put a water.
Send him a cup of coffee. Help support the stuff that he does. And last but not least, there's his YouTube channel there, youtube.com/user/Walter.
Or you go to YouTube, type in Walter Masterson, and YouTube will know what to do with you. Yeah.
Walter, thank you so much for joining me.
It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and we totally ran out of time. There was like 5 other things I wanted to discuss. I hope I can convince you to come back on the show at a later date. Maybe when you have a podcast that you want to promote.
Yeah,
or something.
I'm like in talks with this podcast studio. I wasn't blowing you off when you were hitting me up about it. I was like in talks with this thing, and I was like I wanted to just go on when I launched it. So then that was like getting stalled, and I was like, oh my God, like Or, you know, so then I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'll just go on this anyway. But yeah, I wasn't blowing you off initially. I was I wanted those to coincide. I was like, oh, this is a great thing. I go on his thing when I launch my thing and the thing and da.
Keep me posted. I'm happy to help you promote.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure spending time with you, man.
Thank you. Just do me a favor. Hang tight for a minute there. Let me just sign off, and I'll see you on the other side.
Sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another fun episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. If you have not yet gotten your shot, what are you waiting for? Get the shot. Keep yourself safe and your family safe as well. What else? Wear a mask. Keep your social distance 6 feet or better. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening and have a fantastical weekend. And I will see you guys here, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.